Greetings from the Long Island Sound podcast. Welcome to the show. Please rate, review, and comment on the show, and call our listener line and leave a message for our guest. Dial 631-800-3579. All right, enjoy the show. Welcome to the Long Island Sound podcast, where we explore the muse and the music, from the North Shore to the South Shore, from New York City to the Hamptons, navigating the wellspring of original music from singer-songwriters and musicians from Long Island, New York. Hi, I'm Steve Yusko from gigdestiny.com. Stay tuned as we explore the Long Island Sound. I am amazed each week at the guests we have here on the Long Island Sound, and our guest in this episode will not disappoint. You could take Joe Piket's bio and his background and spread it across 3 episodes. We'll hear 2 of Joe's original songs. We'll dive into his background, his insights on the industry. Man, you're in for a great ride. I met my guest basically on Facebook, and I was enamored with his diverse background and his career. Joe Piket was just voted Entertainer of the Year for the 2nd year in a row on the annual Bethpage Best of Long Island poll. He's a 2-time finalist on the Long Island Music Festival, and he's been described as a more edgy Billy Joel. And the one thing in looking at Joe's bio and his music is the diversity that kind of pops out at me, and the energy and all the different people that Joe's worked with. It can be really more than just one episode of the Long Island Sound. It can be a multi-episode. I think there's so much to discover with Joe. And Joe, I want to welcome you to the Long Island Sound.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm going to try to live up to as much of that as I can. It was great. Thank you.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Joe, you're a singer-songwriter, artist, multi-instrumentalist, and like most humble guys, you let your art speak for itself. And in this episode, we'll get to hear at least a couple of Joe's songs, and we'll kind of dive into it. But a lot of my listeners are really interested in the musician behind the music. And Joe, just give us a little bit of a foundation as far as when did music really kind of touch your life, and who were your early influences?
Oh gosh. Well, my dad was a musician. My dad was not just a musician. He was a musical genius, a composer. He won awards in Europe, something called the Felix Mendelssohn Award. He won that. He was a genius. He could look at a whole score for an orchestra, all the different instruments, all the different parts, everything, a whole orchestra, and hear the whole thing in his head. So he was my first, I guess, influence teacher. He started me on piano when I was, I think, just 2.5 or 3. He had me playing Happy Birthday to You on my 3rd birthday on the piano. And I still remember how to play Happy Birthday to You. So he really got me. No, but he was.
And siblings as well?
Yeah. My sister is a jazz musician, really fantastic jazz pianist. She's pretty incredible. She worked a lot harder than I did. When I was hanging out with my friends playing rock and roll and drinking beer and doing things,
what's her name, Joe?
Her name is Roberta Piket.
Roberta, and that's Piket.
That's right.
We're going to drum that into people's heads by
1 T, no C. There's a song, I wrote a song about that too. It's called The Spell. 1 T, no C. Oh, yeah.
That's right. As long as they remember who you are, I guess that's kind of key. But if you're going to Google Joe, it's Piket, and we'll say that about 30 times through the episode.
We sure will.
So early on, man, you have. Oh my God, how do you live up to a genius pianist orchestra? You have it right. Yeah,
I got a little chip of what he got, but I've been very lucky. I started playing in garage bands and things when I was, I guess, about 14, and I got to work with some pretty cool people, playing the guitar, playing the keyboards, and singing. I started singing in bands when I was about 14 or 15, not because I was any good, but because I was the only one in the band who could remember the words to the songs. So they had to let me sing. It was like, let Joe sing it. He knows the words. Yeah, but can we sing songs?
Yeah, we can't sing Wooly Bully all night long 'cause, we need somebody who can sing real lyrics.
So, they had to
Oh,
let me
man.
sing because I could remember the words, and over the years, I got a little bit better at it.
Yeah. Man, so now 3 years old, hitting the piano,
Yeah.
jumping off the piano into guitar about 14 years old, you're
Mhm.
doing the garage band thing, you're playing out and about. When did the songwriting kinda hit you? It's like, I can write songs, you know?
That's hard to say because I remember, like, being in, like, 4th grade and writing these little things on the piano that I can actually still remember. They're just little simple melodies and playing, like, in the talent show, like, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. But I guess then when I was about 13, 14, I got a little more serious about it, and it's funny because as I've gotten older and hopefully my writing has continued to develop, songwriting has become more difficult, more tedious. I pore over every word. I look for cliches and like X them out, like you know, whatever,
Right, right.
you know. So it's become a lot more. There are songs that I've taken a couple of years, honestly, to work on. I'm actually, if I can show you this, if it's all right.
Yeah, please. And I'll explain to the people on audio what I'm looking at.
Okay, I'll let you explain, Steve, because you already know. I'm gonna show you this,
Yeah.
okay, and I may even tilt the,
Alright, so what I'm looking at right now is a very messy piano with a lot of papers on it, or a keyboard with a lot of papers on it. So
mhm, exactly, okay,
so what does
and
that represent?
that's probably about, let me see, at least 20 pieces of paper sitting on that piano, lyrics, melodies, chords, charts, different things, and all of those pieces of paper are just 3 songs. So
Wow.
when I say the songwriting has become more complicated, it is. On the other hand, it's probably about 15 years ago. I wrote a song called "When These Gates Come Crashing Down," and I wrote it in my sleep. I woke up.
Wow.
The song was like 90% written. I had the lyrics. I had the idea for the song, what I wanted to say. I had the chords, the melody, everything. It was. I had to add. I think I wrote the bridge. I think that was the only thing. So I wish I could write them all like that. But
Right. Those are the gems that you wonder, "Where the heck did that come from?"
yeah,
But I what I respect is that you had the impetus to say, "I better write this down and act on it," right? I mean,
drive my
I
wife crazy, and probably other songwriters have similar stories. I'll jump out of bed at 3 in the morning, like, "I gotta do this right now. I got this." She's like,
yeah. At my age, I'm jumping out at 3 in the morning to use the men's room, but,
"Do other things.
maybe I should put a pencil and pad in the bathroom. Maybe I'll come up with something.
Don't laugh, I have it. Pencil and
I
paper are in every room. Either that or it just goes on the phone, it goes in little notes on the phone. I'm very proud of myself for learning how to do that with a phone anyway.
I was listening to another artist the other day, and I just kind of he may be a future guest, so I'll leave that a mystery. But I listen to your music too, Joe. I want to know who I'm going to
You're the
talk
one.
to. I'm the one. Yeah, I'm the one with the 10 streams the other day on on Spotify. But I was listening to this particular song, and I got choked up because it just kind of hit me. Just kind of hit me in a great way, and that's what I love about original music. It's just the way it can hit you.
Cool,
You know.
very cool. Yeah. Well, it's good to get out and hear live music. It always is. And people need to support that. The problem that I think from what I've seen, every musician runs into, at least what I've seen on Long Island, it's always about how many people can you bring in,
Mm,
okay?
yeah.
And I guess if you're a cover band, that's okay. Um, Even if you're bringing in the same people all the time, you have a following, that's cool. As an original artist, it's much more difficult because any songwriter is looking to get their songs in front of new people, different people, not just,
Right.
okay, I can invite 50 friends of mine or maybe more to come down to a show. We sold out my father's place a couple of years ago, right before the virus stuff started. I think we brought in close to
Oh,
200 people.
nice. At the Roslyn, the new one at the Roslyn
Yeah, the
Hotel at
hotel.
the
Yeah,
Epstein's.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, but again, any artist wants to get their music in front of new people. So I'm kind of like, okay, I can bring in maybe 25 or 30 people, drink your beer, buy your beer, and pay your whatever. But how many people are you going to provide me with who haven't heard my music before, and maybe some of them will like it?
Right. And you know, I agree with you because I think there are venue operators there that consistently do live music. They're getting better. There's more and more of them coming about because they recognize the fact that they have consistent live music, they're gonna draw
Oh
people
yeah,
in.
people.
And then and I've had other musicians say to me, "Hey, you know what? My job is to provide the entertainment. It's not to fill the seats, and I'm there to give you consistently good entertainment, and if I'm doing that, I've done my job."
Yep.
And you know what? If you're looking at me as like the meat purveyor and you can't afford top sirloin, but you have to get, lousy chop meat, get the guy who walks in the door, who's not very good, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
S-
Exactly. That's what
So,
you want. You know.
yeah. So of the venues I've talked, I won't even talk to a venue for a friend if they're not doing something consistent with live music because I don't need to convince them,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, there are some really cool people on Long Island, some good clubs, some very cool, club owners and people who do, you know, who are a little more flexible with that. So I don't want to make out like they're all,
Right, and but also in that vein, if they have a stable of consistent artists, hey, it's hard for the new artist to break in, and not even to mention the new artist who says, "I'm gonna do original music." I at least just my experience, it's been tougher to find, but, hopefully that breaks out. So you went out, yeah, at 14, you're doing the garage band things, and when it comes to writing music, are you more of, "Hey, I write the lyrics and put the music together, and then I'll collaborate with the musicians to get the final product," or do you work with a lyricist, or what's your process,
okay,
Joe?
I write all the lyrics and all the music. Once I'm working with my band or with any musicians, um, something that I always say to anybody I'm recording with or anybody who's performing with me is, I welcome your ideas. Okay, especially in bass and drums and probably even horns, because what I know about those instruments would like fill a very thin book. But even other guitarists and whatever, I'm always open to ideas. And of course, then it becomes kind of a little bit of a back and forth because somebody might come up with something that might be great. I'd say, yeah, let's do that. I love it. Or it might be something I might say it's not quite what I'm looking for. So, there are egos involved, and you try to hopefully, we're not 18 years old and we're able to, respect each
Right, you'll learn how to finesse the criticism to say, "We're gonna put a pin in that, and we may not get back to it, but,
other.
but keep feeding me ideas,"
Yeah,
you know?
well, yeah, keep feeding me ideas, definitely, always. But, yeah, there is a bit of psychology involved in all.
So why don't we do this? Why don't Joe? We'll just take a quick break, and when we come back, I really want to talk about some of the other influences, and particularly the list of people that you played with. I was like, no, this can't be for real. So, hey, everybody, stick with us. You're going to hear some really interesting stories. We'll be right back. Hi, Steve Yusko from Gig Destiny here. Well, as you're probably listening to this podcast, you're probably thinking about that musician who'd make a fantastic guest here on the Long Island Sound. Well, we'd like to hear their story. We'd like to hear their music. So have them reach out to us at gigdestiny.com and we'll explore their craft. Now, back to our podcast. Hey, we're back, everybody. Joe, one of the things I really got to mention here is your notoriety here on Long Island. You're like known as the piano man of Long Island, and the credentials that you have, having 2 years in a row, as top entertainer through the Bethpage Federal Credit Union, and there's some other things. It says a lot. A lot of people don't get their due, but it's interesting that that came about for you.
I appreciate that, Steve. I gotta clarify.
Yeah,
Piano Entertainer of the Year on Long Island. Okay, now, as far as I'm concerned, there's only one Piano Entertainer of the Year on Long Island, and that's Billy Joel.
got you.
Okay, and without going into too much, I just think that his lyrics and his versatility are so far beyond pretty much everybody else and people that he gets grouped with. So please, whatever you do, if you know Billy Joel, do not tell him that I won this award. Probably want to,
Yeah, because he holds grudges. That's what I hear.
I don't know, and I don't want to find out. So, Billy, if you're listening, let's get together and kind of work this out.
Yeah, Billy, if you're listening, give me a call. I probably would consider having you as a guest if.
Oh, sure, you'll bump me probably, but yeah, okay.
Sorry, Joe, your episode's coming out in 2025.
Anyway,
So, Joe, let's. So, in looking at your bio, I mean some of the guys you've met. I just got to go down the short list: Chuck Berry, Leon Russell, Johnny Maestro, Jason Bottom, Dee Snider, Randy Jackson, who just played with somebody recently at Mulcahy's, the band's Renaissance, Alive and Kicking. And this is the one that really got me because I'm an Uncle Floyd fan. I used to watch the show when I was in college, probably why I didn't finish college, but Uncle Floyd Vivino. Uh, you got to tell me. You got to tell me about that. But tell me about these chance occurrences with these celebrities. I find it
well,
so interesting.
I mean, a lot of it was just something where, we need an opening act for this person or that person, or whatever. And I got to, meet some of these people and talk to them. Um, what can I say? I'll tell you this story. This isn't somebody that I worked with, but this was, I think, kind of interesting.
Sure.
I was playing in I don't know what it was, a bar, a hotel, or something on 46th Street in the city. And
Okay.
fella comes up to me and asks me if I know the song. He ain't heavy, he's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from the Hollies. Okay,
Sure.
I'm like, yeah, I know that song. You want me to play it for you? He's like, you play it. I'm gonna sing it.
Okay.
And,
Pretty bold.
yeah, you know how that goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a professional singer.
Sure.
Sing every Tuesday night at the karaoke bar across the street. But I was like, listen, I'll do the song. He said, no, give me the microphone. I'm doing the song. I gave him the microphone. I played the song. He sang the song, and he sang it pretty well.
Uh-huh.
And he gave me back the mic. He sat down. I was like, hey, good job. Okay, I finished my set. Went over to sit with him. I noticed he's sitting with this other guy. This was probably around 1996, 1998. He's sitting with this other guy, kind of bald. It's got a big nose. Suddenly occurs to me, the bald guy with the big nose, is Pete Townsend.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, okay, now I got it, So I sit down with them. We start talking about songwriting and this and that. And I'm like in awe. Like I'm sitting there with Pete Townsend. But who's this?
Very surreal. Yeah.
Okay, now who's this other guy? I'm like, I'm sorry. You sang that song great, man. That Hollies tune. What's your name? Terry Sylvester. Terry Sylvester was the lead singer in the Hollies at the time they recorded. I'm like,
and he still had it.
Yeah, and he's good. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I let you sing the song instead of me. So
I got to ask you this, Joe. Did when he said I'm going to go sing that song, did you kind of slide the tip jar over a little closer to him? For $50, I'll let anybody sing.
You're obviously a man of experience. Yeah. Hey, I got to have a beer with Terry Sylvester and with Pete Townsend, and talk about music and songwriting. Yeah, I was sitting there, kind of explaining to them how difficult the music business is, and they really empathized. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, we've had it rough. Yeah. Limo's outside, Joe. Nice meeting you.
So you had a band called The Storm,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's another band called The New Storm. So tell me about that. You played. So let me give for those who don't know a little background. There's this. When I was a younger man, there was a place called My Father's Place in Roslyn. It's run by Eppie Epstein. And Eppie Epstein had some of the most famous and non-famous people play in his dumpy place called My Father's Place.
That's actually where we opened for Uncle Floyd, by the way.
Oh, did you? Oh, great, great. And so that, unfortunately, that closed. And Eppie revitalized the new My Father's Place in the Roslyn Hotel. I don't know if he's still doing it. I saw Matt Marshak, who was a guest on my program there as well, and yeah, it was neat. It was neat the way they had a lot of memorabilia.
Yeah.
From the place. Yeah. So you brought the storm. You brought in the storm, huh?
Yeah. New group, new people. Again, it's always whatever reasons, it's revolving.
The revolving door of
Yeah,
bands. It's not uncommon.
I got some great people playing with me now, though. I'm very grateful. And yeah, we sold out the place. We brought in almost 200 people.
Great.
Oh, that
Yeah,
was,
that definitely filled the room for sure.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Effie was very happy. I got a check. They gave me a check for like a few $100s. I was like, wow,
All
look at
right.
this. I'm getting
Hey,
paid to play my music. That never happened before.
it's nice. It's nice.
It
I
was
hope it happens more and more, Joe, for sure.
crazy.
And speaking of Joe, you have CDs out. You have, you can find, and I'm going to keep saying this. It's PIKET. So Google PIKET. You don't even have to do Joe because the Joe will follow, and you'll find Joe's music on Spotify and various albums out there. So
Everywhere, whatever platforms, and you know, look at me using.
and you have a few videos too, right? If I
Yeah,
recall.
actually, yeah, we had some fun with this. Well, one thing is as a teacher and as a musician, one thing that kind of is a pet peeve is when people mispronounce musical terminology, either just out of ignorance or whatever it is. For example,
Hmm.
the word is bass, not bass. The guy holding that big thing with the four strings isn't holding a fish. Um, it's Mozart, not Mozart. Okay, there's others like that. So
So this is the cranky Joe. Okay, I get it.
yeah, well, so I found myself saying to one of my students one day, he was playing something or asking me something or whatever it was, and I said to him, "Listen, talk like a musician." And I thought,
Sure.
talk like a musician. What does that sound like? Something from the '80s, girl band. Walk like an Egyptian. Talk like a
Oh,
musician. So
okay.
we put together a video. I did well. My friend Nelson Montana, who's my producer most of the time,
Mhm.
also a fantastic musician. We put together music of talk like of walk like a music, walk like an Egyptian, edit, walk like a musician, whatever it is, walk like an Egyptian.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Freaking
Yeah,
song. I never
we got it.
anyway, and we did a video, and it's the whole thing is about just listen, get it right, whatever. So that video is on YouTube. I'm not sure. I guess if you Google my name, or excuse me, put my name in the search box, all this stuff will come up. If not, talk like a musician, it should come up. We also did a video the year before. I have a couple of friends that I jam with. Occasionally, I get to play a little electric guitar, lead guitar, which really isn't
Mhm.
my strong point. I'm more of an acoustic player, but my friend Jerry, she plays bass, and her husband George plays drums. We've been jamming, and we put together a video about a year and a half ago, a song called the Four Chord Song. It's not the four chord song that people show all these different songs that everybody knows. It's a different four chord song, same four chords.
Neat.
But anyway, we put together a video with that, and we had some fun with that. My wife is in.
Well, it's interesting. Talking about knowing the terminology. You're honoring your craft. You take you bring joy with what you do, and you have fun with what you do. But you got to know your tools, right?
It's important. I take
Yeah.
I take music seriously, and it's important to me. If you're going to be a musician, or if you want to talk to me about music, I don't expect everybody to be a savant or whatever.
Virtuoso.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But at least don't try to fake it. You're not going to fool me. It ain't going to work.
Exactly. And that's why my guitars are on the wall behind me.
I was going to say, that's a nice collection, Ed. Those
Yeah. Thank you.
very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And
Got an
your desk is much neater
ovation.
than mine. I have to say, it's much neater than my piano over there.
Yeah, but you're producing music and I'm producing podcasts, so that's
Well,
that
at least one of
that's
us is in the 21st century, and that's you.
so it's interesting, and I know you joke about being in the 21st century with things, but one of the things that I'm hopeful about the Long Island Sound podcast is in talking to musicians, anybody you can produce music and go through CD Baby or any of these other platforms, and boom, it's up for the world to see. And that's it. It could be a billboard in a desert as far as anybody's concerned. So I see this podcast as a way to honestly expose Joe Piket's craft. And so in this episode, we're going to do 2 full songs. And Joe, what I'd like to do is I'd like you to talk about the next song we're going to hear, give a little introduction to it. We'll listen to it, and then when we're done listening, let's talk about who played on it and how it came about.
That sounds great, Steve. Let's do that.
What are we gonna hear?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me on. By the way, you mentioned that. Thanks for having me on. I know hopefully we'll get a lot of new listeners from this podcast. And, at this rate, I figure in about 250 years, I'm going to be really famous. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, my grandchildren will be rich. Yeah.
Something like that. So,
right.
Okay, I think the first one we're going to play, let's go with The Waters of Lethe. Okay?
Okay.
Now, this was a prog rock piece that we recorded about, 15 years ago, maybe. And what you're going to be hearing is the radio edit version. This got played on a lot of college radio back in the early 2000s. It's whittled down to about 3 minutes, I believe. And it's a progressive piece. The Waters of Lethe refers to a mythical river that I learned about, called Lethe, where when people died, supposedly in this ancient myth, they would go to this river, Lethe, and if they wanted to, they could bathe in the waters of Lethe. And the good news was, if you did that, you would live forever. The bad news is you would not have memories of all your friends, of all the great experiences that you've had in your life. It wasn't like Alzheimer's. It was just you'd live your life, but you wouldn't remember any of the good times from before. So is it worth it? The question was, is it worth it to be alive without
the memories and the experiences?
Because ultimately that's what life is.
Yeah.
So I wrote this piece, about that, called The Waters of Lethe, and play it.
Let's take a listen.
Voices were whispering beneath me, peaceful and white like a lamp in the night. I had come to the waters of Lethe. The tips of her waves shone like candlelit graves. Her shadows drew forward to greet me. The acts of my days danced before me like plays as I pondered the waters of Lethe. Dressed in emerald and gold, her smile gentle yet cold, icy eyes that regarded me deeply. Like a spell taken hold, her words entered my soul. She said, drink
from the waters of Lethe.
It must have been clear, my uncertainty there, for she held both her hands out to reach me.
Darkness and fear,
she said,
disappear when you drink from the waters of Lethe.
Hey, Joe, that was really great. And you know what's interesting? You said that was the shortened version. How long is the epic version of that song?
If I remember right, the full version was like 11 minutes,
Wow.
I think.
That was the song that you make for the DJ so he could have a bathroom break while the song was playing.
Bathroom break, go get his car washed, coffee for the whole crew, and still have time to support stuff. That's why we do it.
You mentioned you have some CDs out. Tell me about the work that you have out there and what you've got planned for the future.
Okay, so I'm going to back it up a little bit. In about the mid 2000s, we put out a CD called Father Time, and just I think some really great songs on there. A lot of stuff about family, kids, watching, reliving your childhood through watching your kids. I did a cover of a Beatles song, one of my favorite Beatles songs, "She's Leaving Home," which also kind of fit in with the whole family thing. That was Father Time. About 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we put out "Everything Is Different." One of the things that disappoints me when I listen to some people's music is when I find them or hear them doing the same thing over and over and over.
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
There are artists who have grown over the years, people who have developed. I was thinking about that today. People like Sting and even Steely Dan, they have their style, but even their style became more sophisticated with some of the later stuff.
You
So
could see that you could see their growth and hey, we're not the same person we were last year, you know.
exactly.
So if you get stuck in that
Yeah,
that rewind, it can get kind of boring, right?
yeah, yeah. So I did a CD called "Everything Is Different," with a let me see. There's a reggae song on there. There's a doo-wop song on there. I did it's a cappella. I did all the parts except for one that my buddy Nelson sang baritone. There is
Mm,
an Americana song called "Coke Stevenson." It's about a fellow who was actually the governor of Texas back in the 1940s. Great story. He lost a Senate election to Lyndon Johnson, who of course later became president.
mm.
So Americana, there's a prog rock song on there. Um, a lot of a blues tune. So everything is different. Just trying to.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You notice and that really expands your audience, in my opinion. When you know, there's certain artists I'll listen to because I expect to be in a particular mood, but then when you strike a gem where we're going in this direction, that's kind of cool. You know, especially when you go into reggae and progressive rock and some other things.
Yeah, try
It's
to
a nice mixed bag.
try to keep it interesting. Don't I mean I won't say don't do the same thing twice because there's certain songs that I've done I fit into a certain genre, but
Hmm.
try to be creative. That's the whole thing. And if I had to give any advice to any young songwriters, young people, this is the legend talking now. Uh, the old guy.
Yeah,
Be
yeah.
creative. Be creative. Don't slop four chords down on a piece of paper and write some lyrics down and say, "Hey, I wrote a song." No, you just put together a first draft.
Mm.
So be creative. What can I do with this? What can I do to make it different? What lyrics, what words can I use? How can I, maybe change one chord? Um, whatever.
Yeah, I tell you, you know, when I think I said this in the beginning, you're not easily, you, Joe, are not easily defined. And I think that's a really good thing because I can imagine those who've had success in a very narrow road uh, might have fear of trying new things or going outside the lane, so to speak. But every artist that's been around for a really long time, very successful, you've seen their growth and their change, and they're willing to venture out.
The
It
Beatles.
may not always grab, but yeah, the Beatles, right? Yeah, absolutely. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Got to, got to keep it interesting. Got to do that for yourself as a writer too. Keep it
right.
fresh. Yeah, that's what
So
you got.
so your future projects, you're working on anything right now?
Yeah, so that was Everything Is Different. Then we put out
Hmm.
a CD called, I'm just going in order here. It's just easier for me to
Sure.
remember what I've done. So then I I was with some friends and I was just playing this song. This is about 5 years ago, hanging with some friends, and then I picked up my friend's acoustic guitar. My friend Jerry, the bass player I mentioned before, she had a
Hmm.
beautiful ovation in her living room. I picked it up, I started playing. I started playing this song that I had running through my head that I had written when I was like 19. It's called Rainbow Villa. And she said,
Hmm.
"That's a pretty good tune. Maybe you should put that on your next CD." And I started thinking, well, I've actually got a lot of songs that I've written that I wrote when I was, in my teens and early 20s. And, some of them sucked, but some of them were pretty good. And I said, let me find, a bunch of good ones and kind of re-record them. And so we put out a CD called Songwriter Volume 1. And there's some pretty cool stuff in there, some interesting stuff. So that was fun.
Yeah. So there's no shame in reworking things.
Yeah, no, and
Putting.
it was interesting hearing, thinking about songs I had written, you know, 20, 30 years ago, maybe more, and, doing something with them and saying, this song is pretty cool. I mean, because at the time when I was a kid, I was recording them on my little TAC tape recorder, overdubbing my own vocals and, playing a couple of acoustic guitar tracks. So to be able to go into a studio and do them up, with a full band and everything, was pretty cool. So that was Songwriter Volume 1. There will be a Songwriter Volume 2. We finished recording it. It's kind of more of the same. That sounds bad. It's kind of more of the, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay. Poor Steve, he's looking at me like, where's he going to go now? What's he going to say?
Where's he going?
No, you can always edit this out, but I hope you won't.
No.
I was auditioning bass players and drummers for one of my bands, I don't know, about however many years ago it was. And these two guys happened to be so good. My buddies Harry and Ray. Ray passed away a few years ago. Great bass player.
I'm sorry.
And they're so good that I kind of felt like rather than auditioning them for my group, that I was auditioning for them. So I played them a couple of my songs, and Ray looks at me and he said, "What else you got?" And I didn't know if he meant, "What else you got?" or "What else you got?"
Yeah, right. What's the nuance in his voice?
So the point being, it ain't what you say, it's how you say it. So Songwriter Volume 2, rather than saying more of the same, I'm going to say more of the same. Stuff that was written back in the, when I was a little bit younger. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve. I feel like I'm interrupting.
No. I'm intrigued. No, I'm very intrigued. Seriously, just a quick comment. What I find interesting is, people say, "Oh, it's the same song, but I did this to it or that to it." But you know what? You're in a different place as a musician and a writer from the experiences from when you wrote that song, and maybe you see a different perspective of light from that song, from that 16-year-old who wrote it to, who you are today, and that kind of nuances can be inspiring.
That's a great point, actually. I mean, I tried to keep the same perspective only because that was the heart of the. I think we froze there for a moment. Okay, I tried to keep the same perspective because that was basically the heart of the song. But what I did do was I tried to make the lyrics a little bit better because, again, lyrics that I wrote when I was 16 or 19 or 13 wouldn't be, I could come up with something better now. So some of the lyrics I updated a little bit. But that's a great point. You do start to look at it like, how can I make it better?
Right. And the same thing when you're doing a performance, the little nuances that come in, particularly with other band members. I remember I'd asked a friend of mine, they asked me, "Oh, what would you like for us to play?" And I asked for a Dave Mason tune. And this particular guy went in this total different direction with the lead guitar and came back, and it was just kind of magical. It was nothing you ever heard on any rendition of that song, but he made it his own, and it was so fitting. It was really kind of cool.
Being creative, definitely. If you're going to do a cover tune, I mean, if you're in a bar playing covers, people want to hear the song the way it sounds. That's fine. I get that. But if you're going to put a cover tune on a record, do something with it.
Yeah. So tell me, Joe, about when you've getting back to the new Storm. Okay, what kind of ensemble do you had? You had drums, obviously, bass player, guitar.
Insomnia? What kind of
ensemble? You knucklehead. Ensemble. It's a new word.
Ensemble. Sure, but can you spell it? I know you can.
Like, did you have horns in the group? I mean, that's where I'm kind of going.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Come on, stick with me, Joe. Stick with me.
Coffee. We're back. Coffee is the secret of my success.
Coffee is key.
It is. So I mean, it's basically the same lineup. The only difference is I've got two lead guitarists, instead of just one. So it's basically a 5-piece band instead of a 4-piece. And the second guitarist who we added, my buddy Frank from Flushing, that sounds ominous. Frank,
Like a cartoon character, Frank from Flushing. Yeah.
or worse. Don't make Frank from Flushing about this little problem we're having. Anyway.
Yeah, right. The band always gets paid, by the way, because Frank goes and collects.
That's why Frank from Flushing is in the band. But no. So Frank is a fantastic guitarist, and he also plays keyboards. So when I'm on acoustic guitar, sometimes we'll switch him over to keyboards. So it gives the band a little bit more versatility rather than having always one electric guitar, bass and drums, and then me, sometimes acoustic, sometimes keys. We mix things up a little more. And of course, it's a lot more full sound when both guys are playing, electric guitar. So that's really the only difference, but it's added a lot. We're working on a new CD. The last couple of CDs that I did were basically solo projects, and this time I wanted to do a band CD. So I've got been doing a lot of writing, as you see, and all I can tell you right now is the name of the CD is going to be Adult Themes. It's not like a porn thing or anything, but it's perspective of somebody who's not 20 years old, and well, that's all I'm going to say about it. But
leave it a little bit of a mystery, because I'd love seriously you to come back on another episode, and once you have it released, we'll do a release episode and really kind of talk it out. That'd be really kind of neat. So let's do this. Let's just take a quick break, and then when we come back from the break, I want you to talk about the second song that you're going to queue up for us, and we'll go there. So hey everybody, just stick with us. We'll be right back. Are you a singer-songwriter who wants to take your music to the next level, and you need some professional musicians and really that expertise to help you along? Well, check out Melts in Your Ears Studio. It's Mike Nugent's studio. If you like what you've heard here today, Mike's the guy who can make the connections, put the tracks together, and give you a quality product. Check it out. Hey, we're back. Hey, Joe, I'm really interested. You brought another song with us that we can explore on the Long Island Sound. Tell us a little bit about it, and we'll jump right into the song.
Okay. This song is called Summer Crimes. One word, Summer Crimes. And I don't really, I'll let you listen to it, and you listeners kind of see what you think. It's from the Father Time CD. And rather than saying too much about it, I will say that I did all the vocals. Other than that, give it a listen and see what you think.
All right, here we go.
You turned away, and there was not much more that anyone could say. What for? You had your mind made up. The laughter had to stop that day. You wanted more than just the sotto voce, Kelly boy du jour, for sure. I was your private fool. I wasn't always cool. What for? You wanted more. Like you've forgotten that you'd ever had a soul. So sad. Like you've forgotten what we'd done. Pissed out all the fun we had. Too bad. You moved away. Larger plights occupied your days and nights. There was an older man who had a bigger plan, and then one day, he turned away. There's a hole in my heart, and it hurts just like a toothache. Rain keeps pouring in. This has got to be a mistake. There's a pounding in my head, and it's never been to make it go away. Like a drum that keeps on banging, keeps on saying that you're gone. She's gone. You turned to clay. You didn't make a sound. You weren't going to turn around. I hear your life life's been rough. It's time for me to say that I'd sooner wake up dead than see you in my bed. No way to take. Okay, I turned away. There's a hole in my heart, and it hurts just like a toothache. Rain keeps pouring in. This has got to be a mistake. There's a pounding in my head, and there's no pill to make it go away. Like a drum that keeps on playing, keeps on saying that you've gone. She's gone. She's gone. She's gone. She's gone. She's gone. She's gone.
Hey, Joe, that was really great. Hey, kind of deconstruct how everything came about with that song. It was a really great song.
It didn't start out with all the vocal parts. It just started out as more of a straight ahead, rock thing. In fact, if you listen to the song, you can hear that the piano kind of drives it. There's some great guitar work by my buddy Mark Fogel, but the piano really drives the song. I guess I should mention the other musicians, Nelson on bass and Dave Jacone on drums, since I mentioned Mark.
Mm-hmm.
So the piano, I think if I remember, I started that song as a kind of a pounding electric guitar thing, and then I switched it over to the piano, and then I started thinking about after the lead vocal, I was like, this would be cool. You could weave some things here and really build this up. So sometimes, when you write a song, you don't even know until you start actually recording it, where it's going, what you're going to do with it. That's kind of what happened with that one.
Neat. That's great. Well, I tell you, Joe, I got to have you back because there's so many more stories. I think we've just touched the tip of the iceberg of the things that you've accomplished. There's so much more that I know we're going to look forward to from you, and you have a lot of great stories, and I encourage everybody. It's PIKET.
Wrote a song about it also. One T.
The
song's called The Spell. I'm sorry.
The one T, no C. No, it's all good.
The Spell. It's all on the Father Time CD. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop now.
Yeah, no. And our listeners know that we break the episodes down into chapters, so there'll be links to Joe's site and anything that he has coming up. You can go there and see where he's playing. And, I end my podcast this way, and it was from a good friend of mine who told me, we can account for what we have in our bank, and what we own can't account for, how much time we have left. So the fact, Joe, that you gave me and our listeners your time tonight and in this episode is much appreciated. So
that goes both ways. Thank you for your time, and thank you, listeners, for listening, for giving me their time. Thank you. I mean that. Thank you.
All right, brother. So till next time in the Long Island Sound, peace. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment, and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate, review, and comment on the show. We really love to hear from you. And call our listener line at 631-800-3579. Again, thanks so much. Be well.